I'm Eden, I'm APMP's content manager, and you're watching On the Record with APMP. Today I'm joined by Jennifer Danforth, and we're going to be talking about Jennifer's journey with AI and her recent learnings around prompt engineering. It's fair to say that you've undergone a little bit of a journey with AI in recent months.
Yes, very fair to say.
Yes. How would you sort of describe the before and after in that journey?
I think before it was more of a, it's important. I wasn't really sure where to start, how to start, what I should pay attention to. There's just everything out there is AI this, AI that. And then when Aaron Morris and I started working on this presentation, he really turned it into just this. He boiled it down and said, it's very simple. This is what it is. The more you interact with it, the more it's going to get to know you, and the better your results are going to be. I was like, oh, well, that seems pretty simple. Okay, I can do that. And so now I use it to take, everything from take notes when we have meetings, to research, which is great, to, hey, I need to, pull together a summary or pull together a draft cover letter. Can you, Microsoft is what we use at my firm, Copilot. Can you pull together a cover letter that has these 3 main topics or something like that? So.
You mentioned they're interacting with AI. I think that's an interesting way to put it, because we tend to think of AI as like this robot that you just shout commands at. Interaction is a very interesting way to put it. Can you elaborate on that? Yeah,
so it is really like having a conversation. And I guess that's really good because I talk to myself anyway. So when I sit at the computer and, you give it a prompt, you get a response, and it's like, that's not exactly what I'm looking for. So then you give it another prompt. You add a detail, or that's great, but can you shorten this response? Or, you just interact with it. It's like having an intern and telling your intern what to do. Oh, that's great, you're in the right track, but let's take it a step further and give me more about this and less about that. And once you kind of figure that out and you get the hang of it and you know the right words or the right sentence structure or whatever it is that you need, then it makes it easier to get closer to what you're looking for. It's never perfect. But I think that goes really well. I remember being at a conference a couple years ago and everybody was, oh my gosh, all the writers are going to go the way, and all the marketing and BD and proposal people, then we're not going to have jobs. Oh, no. I don't believe that that's going to happen, because it can get close, but it's never going to give you what you need based on your client, based on, the specific solicitation. You can get some really good ideas, and you can get some really good content that you might not have even remembered or thought about, but you have to put the final thing together. Yeah. It's not just going to spit out a perfect cover letter, summary, resume, whatever it is you're looking for. It's just never going to do that.
So it's the car and you're the driver?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
That's a great way to put it. I think obviously people have been panicking. They always do when things like new technological innovations come around. But I love the idea of human AI collaboration that you're talking about. And the presentation that you mentioned that you worked on with Adam, I believe it was called Yes and to begin with. So that improv idea of building on each other.
Yes. And that's a great way to put it, because you have to give it something, and then it gives you something back, and then you give it something else. And so it's almost like a partnership. It's a tool. It's a tool just like, any other tool you use to do your job. Sometimes it gets it right. Sometimes it's like, oh no, that's not it. And then sometimes it's, okay, that's not even what I'm looking for. I'm just going to go, do it old school and, dig through, because I know I have this somewhere else. But what AI is never going to be able to do is bring that human intelligence, that knowledge that, if you've been with a firm for 20 years, AI doesn't have that knowledge. You have that knowledge, and you're the one that can shape the message that you want and, get the final result or the final win theme or whatever it is to the point that you need it to be for that specific solicitation.
Great. And when you're doing that, is that prolonged interaction kind of how you can avoid genetic content? Because I know there's a lot of discussion around AI's geneticism.
Yes, I think it is. The more you interact with it, the more it gets to know you. So it knows your style. It knows sort of how you speak. But, depending on what it pulls from, if you have an open system or a closed system, if you're allowed to use specifics to your firm, if it's a closed system, you're going to get a little bit better results. But if it's an open system, you sort of have to edit yourself and not give away the secrets and be very general. So you're going to get generic kind of vanilla answers.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned that idea of the having to edit yourself a little bit with AI. Yes. This idea of privacy is something that's come up a lot. What is a big warning that you would give to people about interacting with AI?
Aaron said something when we were having a conversation with you before. It was, think of AI as social media. Once it's out there, it's out there. You can't take it back. Yeah. So you don't know who's going to find it, who's going to use it. Again, that's for these open systems. I know some firms are starting to build or have built their own internal, AI systems on top of their IT structure. But by and large, at some point, something's gonna, for those of us that don't have those systems, once you put it out there, you can't take it back. You can't get the, toothpaste back into the tube, and you can't, iron out a wrinkled piece of paper.
So how do you protect your privacy and still get decent content through prompting?
I think one of the ways you can is to create, I think they're called personas. They're called all sorts of things. You say, give it a prompt of, okay, as this particular thing, as a proposal manager responsible for, providing a response to this client on, you give it generalities. Like in the example that we use in the presentation, we took a proposal that we had already won, and, I took out the client. I left my name in, or not my name, the firm's name in, and we left out our partner. Right. But it's still like, okay, our people have this many years experience. This is a recompete, so we've already won this contract and have been doing this work for, X number of years. Based on our response, what are the 3 to 5 differentiators that you would say for a cover letter, like for Microsoft Copilot to generate? Give us 3 to 5.
Right. Yeah. Well, I love what you said about the social media thing, because I think generationally, we kind of went through this a while back with social media and not quite understanding how far-reaching and how permanent it is. And so I think relating it to that is a really helpful way to understand how it works.
Right. Well, and hopefully, thinking of it that way, we can learn from the mistakes of social media, and also realize that, yes, social media is a tool, and in a lot of ways it's great. It does connect people, but there are some darker sides and reasons why you shouldn't rely on it solely for connection or whatever. Same thing with AI. You can't rely on it to do your job. It's never going to do as good a job as you will, but it will help you do a better job, and it will make you more efficient. It can even help you. I've found it's like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh my gosh, where did that come from? Because, like I said, I used it for research, and it's like, well, there's something that I never thought about, which that's just a new idea that you can bring to your team and to your firm. So
absolutely. And, you said there it makes you more efficient. And in the vein of prompting, what is your go-to prompt for research?
It depends on what I'm researching. I might type in something like if I'm looking for budget information or upcoming project work. It's, let's say it's for an airport. What are the top 3 resources for budget information for this specific airport? Right. And then it's, okay, let me find that for you, or whatever the response is, because it always responds before it gives you the answer. And then it's like, oh, okay, sometimes it's the city council or whoever's control of that particular entity. Let's go to their website, or these minutes, or the state website might be useful, or it'll tell you this airport has a budget of $72 million over the next 2 years. Great, awesome. And then you can, follow the links and save a lot of time because you don't have to go down the rabbit hole to find the information. You can just sort of follow the breadcrumb trail and see if it's what you need. And that usually leads to other things, which is also very good.
So it cuts out the middleman of having to search.
Yes.
And every minute counts in proposals.
Yes, it does.
So if you could give a few top tips for prompting for someone who, say, like me, I use AI frequently, but I've never done any proper training on prompting. What advice would you give me on how to get the best out of AI?
I think it's trial and error. You ask it questions. Oh, okay, that was so you say something like, draft a, list of 5 things that need to be considered for this. And you're like, oh, well, that's not quite right. And then for whatever you get back, you take that and say, okay, keep this, but don't include this, and then, add something, it's missing something. Maybe it's missing a piece of information. Okay, and then find this part, and then put it all together.
Right.
It's literally having a conversation, just figuring out the best way. A lot of the tools will have sample prompts that you can use, which if you don't know where to start, those are a good place to start because it's, can you summarize this document? Can you give me, the top 5 points of this document or whatever? And it's like, okay, now I have a place to start. I want more information about this specific thing. So you say, okay, now give me more information about this topic in this document. What other resources are there that I could view, or what other resources can I pull from? So.
And then the skill, I suppose, comes in synthesizing all of that and creating a cohesive argument.
Knowing what you want, knowing what you don't want, and figuring out how to put it all together.
Great.
And that's where the human comes in. So again, humans are needed. It's a partnership.
I love to hear that.
Yes, it's a partnership.
Well, on that note, thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me. I have learned a lot from this conversation.
Good.
You will notice that there is a gold microphone in front of you. That is yours as a little keepsake from this interview.
That's awesome.
It says,
I love it.
On the record with APMP, because you are one of our first speakers in this series. So I hope you have a great day, and thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you, Erin. It was lovely. Thanks.